It's your boy Ty back here with another video, and in this video today, guys, we're going to be talking about the cards coming tomorrow in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM, and if any of them are worth you guys taking a look at picking up for you and your specific squad. The main one highlights, obviously, the Diamond Joel Embiid, probably going to be one of the best centers in the game. Also do see Paolo Banchero, Jaren Jackson Jr, Lauri Markkanen at 7 feet tall. JJJ is obviously elite as he, I mean, even the Ruby JJJ as well as the Lauri Markkanen are already elite as well as the series lock-ins. Then you got Banchero as well as Brogdon. Now you guys can see featuring last year's award winners drop tomorrow in the NBA player market and pack market. Now again, these are the 5 highlighted. And look, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm super like what am I trying to say? Excited about these cards, but here's the deal, guys. If you're looking for big men, Embiid's probably gonna be fire. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen, you're already knowing are gonna be elite. And then obviously Brogdon is a decently sized point guard. So I don't want to say super excited about this drop, but I do think we're going to see a lot of these cards be pretty solid. Now again, I don't know if we're going to see the finals MVP Jokic, or any of the like all rookie first team, or all defensive team, anything like that. That would be the only other real type of rewards we see, unless we see like a coach of the year Mike Brown card, something like that. Now it says they're available via the player market and pack market, so it doesn't say anything about any of these cards being grindable via the agendas, which obviously you hope for, right? You obviously hope that there's gonna be some sort of grinds for a free card, but 2K doesn't say anything about them. So let's briefly talk about each and every one of these 5 cards that is coming tomorrow when it comes down to it. Let's start with Malcolm Brogdon. Now, Brogdon supposedly has a decent release. That's what everybody tells me, that Brogdon's base is a really good base. Supposedly, it's supposed to be similar to the Roy and T-Mac base. Now, I'm just not the biggest Malcolm Brogdon fan, just based on his play now card, right? You'd think for the Celtics, like, he'd play, but his release is just not that great. So that's the one thing I would say for me and Malcolm Brogdon. Like, everybody's hype on his release. I just feel like maybe it's the Malcolm Brogdon upper that slows it down a ton. But when I've used his release, I just haven't had that much success with Malcolm Brogdon in general. Banchero up next. Let's talk about Paolo Banchero. He's so large in my team, and I don't know how else to phrase it other than just talking about his player model. His player model makes him feel way larger than he should, because I think his base height is 6'10", but because of that wide player model and player build, he is going to play a lot larger than that. Again, a lot of these cards we had in the Series 1 set. Banchero was the Ruby lock-in for the Orlando Magic, and he was really good for his respective time. So just expect, and I'm just going to pull up 2K database for the sake of this video, just expect Banchero to be pretty large in general. Again, pretty large, pretty good, and just a slight improvement over this card. He's gonna have a 3-ball, decent speed, again 6'10", gonna play a lot larger than that, and badge wise should be relatively decent. The one thing with this Ruby Banchero is defensively he wasn't that elite, and so that's maybe the one kind of, I don't want to say worry, but the one thing about Banchero that he might not be great at is just his defensive stats as well as defensive badges. That's the one thing about Banchero that I would encourage you guys to maybe just look at and be aware of. Now, Malcolm Brogdon, he also did have a Series 1 reward. He came with an 84 3-ball and defensively wasn't great. That's the one thing about Malcolm Brogdon that I do think the Amethyst is going to do way better, is compete on that defensive end of the court. But again, an 84 base 3-ball as a point guard 6'4", he's probably going to be really solid as well. Now, let's look at the other side. Lauri Markkanen. He is going to be 7 feet tall. Now, the big thing for him is stat-wise, he needs to get a lot better. This Lauri Markkanen, the Ruby, he was obviously 7 feet tall, which that's just by itself super valuable and super important. Gotta had a good 3-ball, and his release isn't bad. Now, defensively, the Ruby Lauri was horrible. So that's the one thing I'm really intrigued about for the Lauri Markkanen coming tomorrow. What is his defensive stats gonna be like? If they're in the low 70s, I think this Lauri Markkanen is going to be one of the best power forwards in the game because, shooting wise, he is going to be absolutely elite. Now, I'm not just trying to sit here and gas any of these cards, but I do think if you've used any of these Ruby cards or played against them, you're going to see what I see, that all of these cards are relatively decent. Lauri probably going to shoot better than a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr., maybe defensively, obviously not going to be quite as good, but I do think by himself is really solid in my team coming tomorrow. Now let's look at Jaren Jackson Jr. Out of all these cards, I think Jaren might be the best card coming tomorrow. Here's the deal. His 3-ball is going to be better. His speed's going to be better. His defense on this Ruby card was already absolutely elite, so expect it to even be maybe a little bit better, right? And he came with Rebound Chaser on Silver, really solid defender, and expect all of those things to get even better. And maybe you'll see his 3-ball even go up a little bit as well, because the 69 3-ball, is that great? No. Is it greenable? Yeah, I mean, you can green that occasional 3-ball with it. So again, just something that I want you guys to consider heading into tomorrow is how good this Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be. Now, the one thing I will say, we don't know again what the awards are going to necessarily look like, but if it's all AMI and above, these cards are going to be ridiculously expensive. Okay, that's just the reality of the situation. If all of these cards are AMI and above, it's going to be an expensive set. Now, I'll say this, if Jaren's a buyable card for, let's say, 130,000 MT, I think it's realistic to say he's worth that, right? Because AD was that price, and I do think Jaren's going to be basically a better version of AD. Good player model, gonna compete defensively, gonna knock down shots offensively. I really think that's a good way to look at a guy like Jaren is he might be a better version of AD. Now again, we'll see what his price is like tomorrow because his price might be pretty expensive and we'll have to decide and go from there. But that's the one thing I would say about Jaren heading into tomorrow is I'm pretty excited about the card. Now it does not say anything about any of these cards being a lock-in, and so let's talk about Joel Embiid. If Joel Embiid isn't a lock-in, expect his price to be, somewhere in the 200,000s. I don't expect him to be more expensive than MJ, but I do not expect him to be much cheaper than MJ. Now, maybe he will be because MJ is MJ, and maybe he'll be like right at that 200,000 price tag. Again, that's something we'll just have to monitor tomorrow. But do I expect Joel to be the best center in the game? That's where things get difficult because I really don't. I mean, we got Shaq in my team, we've got Wilt in my team, and I know Joel Embiid is going to be able to at least stretch the court a decent amount. But the thing is with Joel Embiid, even if he is able to stretch the court, which I expect his threes bullet to be in the upper 70s, I don't know if he's going to have a good enough release to really make a difference, and I don't expect his speed and interior and defensive badges to be to the liking of a Shaq, of a Wilt Chamberlain. Honestly, guys, I think the best comparison when looking at Joel Embiid is going to be a guy like Chris Bosh. Now, with this said, I don't even think his stats are going to be as good as Chris Bosh's. Now, maybe they will since Embiid's a 93 and Bosh is only a 92. Maybe I'll be stunned at how good they make Joel Embiid. But that's kind of the comparison I would draw. Expect Embiid maybe to be a little bit better defensively than Bosh, but not as good shooting-wise. And obviously, Embiid's going to probably have some better post moves as well. The one thing about Joel Embiid is his player model is going to be better than a guy like Chris Bosh. He's going to compete on the interior, and he's probably going to be one of at least the top 3 or 4 bigs in the entire game. The problem is I'm super excited about Jaren and Lauri Markkanen. I don't know about Joel Embiid. Like, I know a lot of people are going to be really pumped and excited about him. I just don't know if that's me. Maybe we'll see tomorrow, okay, what all these cards look like. But when it comes down to me, I'm excited about Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen more than Joel Embiid. That's my personal opinion. You guys can obviously have yours and let me know those down below in the comments. But if you have, let's say, Shaq, or if you even have, I'm not gonna lie, if you have E. Jinlian, I don't know if there's a need for any of these cards. I mean, Brogdon's okay, but a lot of these power forward centers might mean that it's worth it to sell your Anthony Davis. That's the only thing, right? Because AD's price is going to continue to drop, whereas these cards are at least going to hold their value for 3 weeks. So that might be the only thing to look at is selling your Anthony Davis and maybe picking up a Jaren or Lauri Markkanen. I'm going to wait to see what their stats and badges look like tomorrow before doing anything. Drop a like on the video, guys. Subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys, and have a blessed day.